Good afternoon and welcome to this press conference. My name is Dominican, the AFA commentator.
Okay, buenas tardes y bienvenido a esta sesión.
First question to you, Coach. First, I must say congratulations.
Felicidades.
For how long did you have the team together?
Okay, ¿cuánto tiempo tú has tenido el equipo juntos entrenando?
Bueno, nada, muchas gracias por la bienvenida y buenas tardes a todos. La verdad tenemos desde diciembre que estamos trabajando con el grupo, pero previo a esta ventana tuvimos desde el 22 de febrero hasta hoy 6 de marzo trabajando con el grupo. Tuvimos un partido oficial con Belice y nada, culminamos ahora con ustedes aquí en Anguilla.
So first of all, good afternoon and thank you for the congratulations remarks. She said they have been training together since December, but before this they've been training together from about February prior to our game against Belize.
For any one of the players, how many overseas based players do you have in your setup?
Overseas, I think we have about 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
About 4. And honestly, I think that them playing overseas brings a lot to the game, especially since we have a lot of college and American younger players. I feel like they really do help us and help us improve. So I think that our 4 overseas players really do help our game.
Good afternoon, Tony Fleming, Radio Anguilla Sports Menu Sports Stew. That's good for you. Again, congratulations on your win today. I thought your team played very well. You displayed some very good brand of football out there, and we're happy to have you. And I hope that you enjoy your stay here for the brief period that you're here as well.
Él dice que buenas tardes y que felicidades, y su nombre es Tony, de una de las emisoras locales que tiene un canal de deporte y que tuvieron una presentación muy buena y muy profesional.
To the coach, what was the condition like out there, and how did you think that your players performed against Anguilla?
Él pregunta que cómo fue las condiciones y el clima afuera y cómo tú piensas que tu equipo usó ese ambiente para su juego.
Ok, muchas gracias por las felicitaciones y nada, acá fue un clima totalmente bueno, favorable para nosotros. Somos del Caribe igual y es algo que se nos hace fácil. El clima, el ambiente con todas las personas de la federación, los demás colaboradores de donde estamos alojados es algo muy, muy positivo, muy acogedor y de verdad el grupo, el cuerpo técnico nos sentimos cómodos por todas las atenciones positivas que nos dieron aquí en Anguilla.
She said the climate and environment is similar to where they're from because we are from the Caribbean, and so it was in their favor. And she went on to express that the technical staff here, the support from the community in Anguilla on a whole has been positive, and it assisted them tremendously into these preparations for the game.
Team looked very young and youthful out there. What's the average age of the team?
The question is for other players. Los jugadores se ven bien jóvenes, que cómo es la edad de casi de todas las jugadoras.
Sí, la verdad somos un equipo bastante joven, pero tienen bastante experiencia, sobre todo en las selecciones inferiores que la mayoría han pasado. Y nada, tenemos una media de edad de 22 a 23 años de todo el equipo.
Yes, we have a fairly young team. Most of them have been playing football, so they have the experience, but most of the team is between the ages of 22 to 23.
Okay, to any one of the players, how did you enjoy playing on the field? How did you think that you performed against your opponents, and how happy are you with the 3 points?
I think we passed the ball around. I think we executed our game plan. We scored goals, and I think that was the ultimate objective of the game, score goals and score goals. I think we could have brought some more energy in areas, but I think overall everybody worked really hard, and I think it was a good game to see us moving the ball around and really being confident in ourselves.
How would you assess what are your assessment of the Anguilla team in and of itself? Were you expecting a harder challenge?
I think Anguilla has a lot of heart, a lot of players out there that they want the ball, they want to play hard, they want to win, just like all of us. I think I'm not sure, but yeah, they're a good team. They play hard, they work hard, and honestly, all you need in soccer is heart. So that's what they have.
Did you score today?
Yes, I did.
What's the feeling like?
What was that?
What's the feeling like?
I was so excited. I haven't scored in a while, so that was my first goal in a while. And yeah, I'm excited. I was so excited to put a point on for the team, especially to help us get going since I scored the first goal. So yeah, just proud.
And how long have you been playing for the national side?
About 2-3 years.
2-3 years?
Yeah.
Wow, quite young. So coach and players, what's the next step from this win here today? What's your next match? What are your other plans moving from here?
Que después de hoy, ¿cuáles son los planes y cuál es el otro juego que esperan de ustedes, del equipo, de hoy adelante?
Pues nos queda la última ventana con Haití de esta eliminatoria o de esta fase y nada, espero del equipo que tenga la misma motivación, la misma intensidad y sobre todo la concentración para afrontar un partido que va a ser el más complicado para nosotros debido a que ambas selecciones estamos peleando por la clasificación. Luego tenemos lo que es la eliminatoria para los centroamericanos, bueno, los Juegos Centroamericanos que van a ser en República Dominicana y esta misma categoría es que va a competir en ella.
So what's next for them is that she expects the same commitment and motivation from the team. They're up against Haiti, which is one of the other stronger teams within the group, and they expect it to be an intense one. And that they also have the elimination phase, which will be played in the Dominican Republic, and they will be a part of that phase.
Well, again, well done. You look very good out there today, and I enjoy what I saw from your team. Congratulations again.
Gracias.
Y lo mejor de hoy adelante.
Gracias.
Just one last question. Anybody around the table can answer. In your preparation, at this time of day, how many days or how long would you have been preparing at this time of day, knowing that you would have had to play at this time coming into Anguilla?
You want the coach to answer or you guys want to answer?
So this time of day, like 3 p.m.?
Yes.
It's a difficult time to play because the heat, there's other factors. I think we prepare by practicing at this time, getting ready, being out in the heat, preparing for the weather, the field, everything. So that's how we prepared for today's game.
You just said you carried me, so
Right. We're used to it.
Because with work, being young, some have school, some have work, and so how was it, what I heard, easy to be able to train as a group at this time of day?
I think it's very important for all of us in our clubs, college. For me, I play professional soccer in Florida, so all of us coming together, playing as hard as we can, working hard in our own clubs, and then when we come together, we use all of those pieces, come together, and it works. And just keep working hard, everybody.
All right, congratulations again. Continue in your good work. We wish you a very safe travel going out, and in your future endeavors, we wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you, gracias.
Sigue, mamá. Tú como que entiendes que te lo haces.
considerations. Welcome to this broadcast, to this interview. Tough luck once again. Where do we go from here? Coach?
Okay. I think the first thing we've got to do is we've got to look at ourselves. We've got to look at the footage back. We've got to obviously go through the analysis, which is the process, whether win, lose or draw, and then we've got to try and figure out where our comfortable out of possession shape is to then be able to transition into our attacking shape. Today felt a little bit like you fix one problem and you just open one or two more. And that was with the change at half time. Try and fix a problem to try and give a little bit more support into the midfield, and then it was just opened up spaces elsewhere, and then you've got Carlia that's isolated by herself in the second half. So yeah, we have to have a look at where our sort of comfortable spot is out of possession to be able to then counter and try and get things out of the game.
All right, looking from the stands, I want to show what if it came down to players playing out of position or coach's instruction. But your back line looked dead straight, and one ball beats everybody.
Yeah, I think that starts to become a problem when you start squeezing up and you start to try and steal yards, and it opens the space, especially towards the end of the game. I think one of the things that we'd recognised from the previous game was the overlaps and underlaps, especially when they go direct into the wingers. Obviously, to go with a back five is to try and counter that. So then the fullback can lock onto the player on the ball, and then your outside centre back can go and deal with the runner, whether it's on the inside or whether it's on the outside. But yeah, it shouldn't be too flat, especially when we're trying to get higher up the pitch. One of the problems that also then causes is when we do win the ball, we've got 60 yards to try and get those wing backs up in support and to try and give them width. So again, we've got to try and find where that comfortable spot is. We've got to try and then work with the back five, or if it's a back four in the next game, and then we've got to be ready to go from there. One of the things that we tried in the previous game against Suriname was the back three, back five. It worked quite well for us, and it was let's go and let's try it again, especially with the overlaps and the rotations that you could face.
We seem to be suffering from not being able to hold up the ball long enough to be able to get those passes and make them effective, and we don't have the speed either. Then what is going to be? How do we fix this?
That's a long-term development that fixes that. One of the things that we look at is, I thought in the first half when we did build possession, we were starting to break the halfway line. We were starting to get in behind. We didn't get the runs in front of the ball. So again, you mentioned before about players out of position, Rayna's not a striker, so we've got Rayna out of position with loads and loads of speed, but it takes years to build that instinct to try and get that run in behind. So. It's going to take development. It's going to take a little bit of time in terms of settling players into positions and secondary positions. Some of those that are around sort of the academy that we have had first and secondary positions, but then wider than that, it's just trying to find that sweet spot and try and find that space where we're comfortable in and out of possession. I think there's times when we can play, and I think when we have played today, we've showed that we can progress the ball, we can build and we can get forwards. It might just be, I think if we look at the system, I think if we look at the front two, probably didn't get the front two wide enough to allow Carlia then to have the space through the middle. Or if then Carlia is having to go and do a job and she's going and pressing, then you don't have that ability for her to go through the middle. So again, like I mentioned right at the very beginning, I think you fix one problem, or you try and fix one problem, you create yourself another problem somewhere else. So one of the things that I think we've done really well was with a 4-3-3. I think that way most players are comfortable within that. I think most teams in the league play like that. My biggest fear and concern is when we play against teams like this, I think we probably open and leave too much space for them, and I think that's another way that they can go and take advantage. But again, we've got to go back, we've got to look at it, we've got to go and reassess, and then put a plan into action for Haiti and Belize.
You alluded to the fact that in the second half, Kalia was left all by herself. She appeared to be a ship in an open ocean, where every time she picks up the ball, 4 defenders was around her. And even when she got the ball, there were no outlets.
Yeah.
What were the instructions?
Yeah.
Because even coming into the second half, it seems like we had absolutely no wingers.
Yeah, well, we were deep. We had our wing backs really deep. We've gone with a midfield box in midfield, so then you don't have width. Again, you fix the problem of maybe space in midfield and to try and lock that out, but then you create that you create the problem for yourself, because then you can't get anybody high up the pitch. The thing for Carlia is it's a really difficult job up there by yourself, especially in that situation, and it is purely just trying to plug up the holes, trying to plug up the gaps, so that it doesn't get any worse than it was in terms of the scoreline. And I think we've been working on back and throughs to try and buy ourselves a little bit of time. If it's going up into the striker, or it's going up into the midfielder, set to an on-running player, and then try and play into the space. But again, it's very difficult when you've got really good players around you trying to win the ball, and they can press really, really quickly, really aggressively. So it is very difficult. It's not something we wanted to do going into this game. I think we mentioned after Suriname that we thought probably don't want to do that again, but again, they just found players everywhere in midfield, so it was trying to make sure that we didn't leave ourselves isolated in midfield, out of possession, so we can try and plug up the gaps, so that we're not leaking as many goals as we were in that first half.
Again, commiserations and hard luck. Just for a start, how would you assess this game as opposed to the Suriname game? How would you compare those two games?
Yeah, I think if we look at the differences, I think Suriname a very, very good side, but they could have been a better side on the day. We made reference to the players that they had unavailable because the paperwork hadn't been signed, so that could have been an even tougher game than it already was. I think when we look at the way that the Dominican Republic played today, it was patient when it needed to be patient. They had the rotations in midfield early in build-up. They were getting the rotations higher up the pitch. They was direct going in behind our defensive line or direct into the wide areas. So that stretches you. You've got a long way to cover to try and close that gap again. With Suriname, I felt like they was a little bit more patient. They were playing shorter passes. So if they're going to try and switch from one side of the pitch to the other, they maybe go through 6-7 players. The Dominican Republic today showed that they can do it in 1 and 2, and when it goes in 1 and 2, it can be very difficult for us to get across. I thought the Dominican Republic was very, very good today. Very dynamic opposition. It's very tough for our players to deal with that, and it has to be used as a learning curve and a development point. It was. I think this was probably the toughest game that we've had since I've been here. I think the scoreline reflects that. But that's not to take anything away from Suriname. I thought they were very good as well.
What were the preparation like building up to this match in terms of like training? How long were you training? Did you have any practice games? Because when you compare both games, I thought and I think that the team was very, very good. They played very well against Suriname. But that is maybe Suriname, and I wouldn't say Suriname is a little bit weaker than the Dominican Republic. But I thought that the team in and of itself looked a little bit sharp and worked. How would you assess that?
Yeah, I think if we look at sort of this year, the start of this year, obviously we had the under-17s World Cup qualifiers. A big chunk of our squad was away with that, and this is just the situation we're in. I don't think it's, you can't hang everything on it, but in terms of preparation, I think locally, I think we've struggled a little bit. I think the under-17s that was away are all sort of last year of high school, so when we've come back, there's some catch-up from them. I think there's training sessions that we've struggled with in terms of getting the numbers there, just purely because they're having to do school extra classes. It's a very, very young squad, and I think we've struggled a little bit with that. So we're probably lacking a little bit of match sharpness. I think we're lacking a little bit of the fitness there. In terms of preparation for practice games, we played the under-17s boys on Monday. I thought that was a really good run out for us. I think that was a really tough test. Again, you'd love to do that all the time, but as well, we can't be selfish. They've had their under-17s qualification as well, so we've got to try and be smart and clever with how we fill that gap over the next 4 weeks before we go into the Belize game and the Haiti game.
Just before I go to the players, when you leave from here, what are some of the things that you thought the team could have done differently that you saw out there, and how do you go about changing some of those? Because I saw some spots out there as well. It wasn't all well. Yeah, the scoreline doesn't reflect how the game was played.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there are some bright spots in there. Yes, you have to look for them, and it's hard saying that with the score line. I think from our point of view, we've already been talking about it. When we start looking at was it system wise? Was it the 4-3-3? Could we have done that? Could we have been a bit more just narrow, compact with the 4-3-3 to jump? We've already started in terms of dissecting where. Was it system? What else could we do? But I think everything's going to come back down to what we can do on the training field. I think it has to come back to a little bit of composure, I think, at times. And that's not to say that there wasn't composure out there. I think we've got to try and put players under a little bit more pressure in training and get them trying to make those decisions a little bit faster in certain areas. And I think everything's going to come down to the next 4 weeks and what the preparation is going to look like. I think in terms of coming away from here now, I know as soon as we wrap up and close out camp, in terms of staff, we're already planning on what's going to happen over the next few days and before we resume training, so that then we're really clear with what we've just seen and how we try and put that right. Haiti brings another test that is much greater than this. That I think, in terms of if you look at the profile of players that you're going to be up against, Belize again is another tough game, and it's another tough away game. So yeah, we're going to have a few days to try and work this out, and then it's straight back on the pitch.
Colleen, Shadow, I think, right? What was the condition like out there, and how did you thought the team would have performed in terms of your fitness? How do you see your fitness level in your contributions today?
Again, they caught us off guard. I wouldn't say we're not fit, but it's just the rotations that really switch us around. But overall, it wasn't a bad game, regardless of the score.
Okay. Colleen?
Same question.
Yeah.
You can repeat the question, please.
How do you think your performance was today in terms of your fitness level, your contributions to what you gave to the team? What do you think that you all could have done differently facing that opponent that you all had?
I think sometimes we could have moved a little closer together as a unit, because a lot of the time they were threading the ball through us. They would isolate a player, beat the player, and then find the space. If we were moving a bit more as a team, then we could have closed the space a bit quicker. After the first player was beaten, we could have come in and clean up. However, we go back to the drawing board and we try to fix this for the next game. In terms of fitness, I don't think our fitness was that bad, to be fair. Them run us to the ground. It was a lot of running out there, but never did I feel like I was dying out there, So to speak to fitness, I don't think that our fitness level is that bad. It's just our awareness we have to work on. Our spatial awareness, our game awareness. That's some stuff we can improve on going into the next game.
How do you fix your possession of the ball, especially when you would have won it from the team and then you just give it back to them? How do you fix that? Because the fitness was not a factor in this. It means every time you win the ball, you're supposed to at least have at least two options to pass to. And a lot of times you see where you all did make the effort, won the ball, but then you just give it back to them. And then there's no way you're going to stand up to that just because you have to be chasing consistently. So how would you go about fixing such?
I think that comes with confidence and composure. The more we play with the ball under high pressure, the more we would be able to deal with those situations. Today was just a matter of how quickly we were being closed down. For me, especially, like, not even just hearing the footsteps behind you, just like trigger that the ball gotta go, you know. So I think I could have been a bit more composed with the ball when we were in possession and runners off the ball, giving options for the player who has the ball. I think that is something we can improve on as well. Wanting the ball when you don't have it is something we can work on.
Coach, in terms of like voices out there, would you say that that could be a little bit more prevalent on Team Anguilla as well?
I think you can always improve communication. I think the voices are there to be heard. I think you can hear it through the spine of the team. But I think you can always improve that. But again, and this isn't, just keep pressing play on the same thing. It's still a young team. They're still learning, and they've got to face this opposition. But yeah, it could always improve. But that's true of anything. We could always improve. As Coco said, we could be improving composure. We could be improving, our spatial awareness that's been mentioned. There is so much that we can fix. I think if we look at the communication, I think this camp, probably more than any camp, I think we've had more questions in terms of what about this and what happens when this player does this. I think in terms of where we're at in learning and understanding the rotations, I think there's a real understanding for it. But I think the next step has got to be, well, how do we communicate? And I think if you look back when the overlaps happen, the communication's there for when someone's taking the runner. I think, in terms of passing people on, I think you could see that, and we visibly saw it from the sideline. Whether it's a case of the old-fashioned, a Roy Keane centre midfielder, I think that's gone from the game a little bit. But I think in terms of the communication, I think there's smart communication out there. But yeah, it could always be improved.
Your next test will be, when will be your next test?
It'll be Haiti. It'll be Haiti away next month.
Okay. Well, I want to wish you all the best. I've seen you play much better football than this today, certainly. So the sky's the limit, and we won't be too hard on the team today. And we are looking for some good football going forward, because you have done it and there's no reason why you can't do it again. All right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.